Okay, I think we're good to start. Welcome everyone, and good afternoon again. Thanks a lot for joining for this session. Um, just to give you a quick introduction of my about myself, my name is Avinash Tiwari, and I'm one of the co-founder of Smart Software Testing Solutions, which owns the product PCloud. We'll talk about the product a bit more as we go along. So, as part of today's session, uh, the the objective is to cover what do we need to improve the app experience, especially in the healthcare industry, by using a remote testing cloud. And needless to say that in today's scenario, how important healthcare is, and considering the fact that we are not allowed to go out, we all are preferring to go digital, using channels like web or mobile to access even the healthcare facilities which are around us. It has become all the more important for the healthcare industry to focus on their mobile apps, improving the customer experience so that consumers use it in the best possible way. So considering that fact, today's webinar is dedicated to improving the experience of apps in the healthcare industry. So to begin, I'll take a few minutes to introduce pCloudy as a product. Um, so pCloudy is a mobile app testing platform, uh, and it's one of the most comprehensive solution to increase the speed of your app testing. And we do that by enabling continuous testing of your mobile apps. So we have seen many organizations who are at very early stage of their testing practices with for their mobile apps. So you can take a leap with pCloudy by enabling those continuous testing practices very smoothly and easily. And we do that in 5 different ways, which are listed in the screen as well. So first part is where pCloudy enables you to create a device lab. It could be a in-house or hosted in our data center or a public cloud that we have. But it enables you to move from your physical devices to remote devices, which exactly acts like physical devices accessed over a browser. So it enables you to create a device lab, which makes the testing very easy from anywhere, anytime. And that's one of the need in today's time as well. The second aspect that we really focus on within pCloudy is enabling the teams to do rapid automation. Now, in a longer term, mobile app testing cannot be successful until you bring uh, automation in play, and majority of the testing has to be done in an automated way. And that can only happen if you use rapid automation techniques, like within your sprint, you are able to automate the scripts so that your regression testing maximum can be done through the automated scripts. That's the second part of it. Third part that we focus on as a product within pCloudy is automation execution at scale. This is one of the major challenges that we have seen in industry, that you have an automation script, but how do you run it in parallel across multiple devices? So running on few devices is fine, 2, 3, 4, 5, but we are talking about execution at scale. How do you run it on 20, 30, 50, hundreds of devices in parallel? So that's the kind of scale you can achieve with a product like pCloudy. The fourth aspect that we covered is test analytics. It's very important that when you're running your script or testing at scale, you have right kind of analytics to find out where the issues are, right? And you should be able to debug and then fix and then rerun your tests quickly. That's where a smart test analytics comes into play. And we have extensive test analytics to support quick debugging and quick analysis of issues. And the lastly, since we talked about enabling continuous testing, pCloudy comes with features which enables mobile DevOps in the very beginning. So it has all the plugins for CI/CD tools like Jenkins, Circle CI, etc. And we have open APIs which can be used to integrate with any other CI/CD systems that you might be using. So with these 5 pillars, we help organizations take a leap and help them achieve continuous testing in their mobile app journey. Having said that, a quick look at our journey. So over a period of last 3 years, we have grown uh, very fast, and we have now more than 100K plus users across the globe from 64 plus countries using our platform. 700,000 device hours have been consumed. So you can imagine the amount of testing which has happened on the platform. More than 500 plus companies across the globe are using it. And out of that, 20 plus are Fortune 500 clients using the platform for their continuous testing journey in case of for their mobile apps. And we have been covered by Gartner. We have one of the highest ratings as far as the platform is concerned on independent platforms like G2 Crowd, Gartner Peer Insights. So yeah, I mean, our users have shown a lot of trust and love for the platform, which is one of the which we always strive for. So with that journey, some of the key clients are mentioned here. As I said, we have more than 20 plus clients from Fortune 500 list. And since we're talking about healthcare domain, we have quite a number of clients in healthcare, pharma, insurance, as you can see in the top bar itself. Apart from that, we cover clients across different industries, and we have partners from the top SIs like Infosys, UST Global, CapG, Hexaware, HCL. So again, it shows the kind of trust the partner ecosystem has shown on us, and the kind of clientele that we have. So with that introduction, let's move to the agenda of today's topic. And I would just talk about some key trends before we delve into a demo of the product and how do we use it for testing on healthcare apps. So in 2020, and 2020 started with onset of COVID. So digital transformation has got a never before like push. I mean, one of the memes which is circulating online and you might have seen is, who led the digital transformation in your organization? Is it your CEO, CFO, or COVID? And you can just probably think who led that initiative. So COVID has given a huge push to the digital transformation initiative across different industries, and same is true for healthcare. So it is estimated that over 200 health apps worldwide are being added each day to the top of App Store, where there are already 325,000 health apps in the App Store. So you can just imagine the kind of push which is happening in the market. And at the moment, 60% of mobile device users have downloaded some or other mHealth app on their devices. So mHealth or healthcare apps, be it your your vital tracking, to your health tracking, to telemedicine consultation, is becoming one of the apps you will always have on your device. So every healthcare company, every organizations, every enterprise working in this space will have a app as a channel for their consumers. So this is becoming a trend which is good for the testing community focused in this space, which means more and more apps for testing within the healthcare domain. Another data point from APAC for first month of 2020, when again the onset of COVID started. So every app, look at Doctor Anywhere from Singapore, or My Doc, which is one of the most popular open app in Singapore, have seen a significant rise in their active user base. Again, what we just talked about in the previous slide itself, that more and more users are using these kind of apps. So every user, every similar app is going through a huge rise in their user base, and which means more and more quality issues will be discovered, and the apps and the companies or the enterprises have to be ready for that kind of jump in the user base itself. So that again bring back the focus on how do we ensure the quality and the testing aspect of those apps. Another data point, again from Singapore, the MyDoc daily active users have been rising in less than 2 months. It has risen by 167%. So again, it proves the same uh, thing that I've been saying, that the number of users who are going to use the health app is increasing dramatically. So what does this mean? I mean, this means the growing need of the testing aspect of these kind of apps. I mean, mHealth is just one example, but any app which is related to health industry or our uh, any app which we are using for our health related aspects will require a huge amount of testing, and that's driven by certain unique challenges. I mean, one challenge which exists in the market is device fragmentation. Is true for any kind of app, but since the number of active users are increasing dramatically, the device fragmentation will impact the quality, because initially the enterprises might have thought that, okay, my users will use these set of 10 or 20 devices, but now every segment of the user will start using these kind of apps. So you can't ignore even the low end devices to lower version of the operating system. You have to cover the complete spectrum. So device fragmentation becomes a key challenge as far as the app testing is concerned. Apart from that fact, better consumer experience, because as I said, every segment of society will be using these apps. So not everyone will be a very technical kind of user. So it has to be a kind of app which anyone can understand and use it. So better consumer experience is another area of focus. App performance management, because now these apps, for example, if you're using a vital tracking app, you will be using it um, for a longer duration on your device. And if the app performance is not optimal, it will consume a lot of resources from your device, and then your device may slow down, which you don't want to happen. So app performance management is another challenge. And in case of especially telemedicine apps, where you'll be doing consulting over video calls and all, again, you have to ensure that the experience is good. It's not consuming very high network and all those aspects. Concerns over security, because we are talking about health data, you are very, and consumers are very particular about the security aspects of the app, how secure is the data, how secure is the transmission of data over networks. So all those aspects are another challenge. Latency and accuracy, again, it leads to the consumer experience. And finally, scalability, as to if the users are increasing, is your app in a state to handle that kind of user load as well. So these are certain key challenges which are there in the market for healthcare apps. Some are generic, some are very specific to the healthcare industry in the current situation. Now, I'll I'll talk about. I'm taking up one of the key aspects that I talk about, device fragmentation, because that drives a lot of strategies that you'll be thinking about when you start planning for testing. So I'll focus on some of the key aspects as far as device fragmentation is concerned here. So some of the key trends that you see on this slide, the first, which is the bar graph, it clearly shows the number of smartphone models which exist in the market and how it has grown in last 4 years. So from 2015 to 2019, we have more than, I mean, the number of smartphone models have more than doubled in every continent. So be it Asia, Europe, North America, you see the number of smartphone models have doubled. And these are unique models I'm talking about. For example, Samsung has so many models. MI has so many models. These are different models. So for example, in case of North America, there are 9,395 different models which exist in 2019. So just imagine the amount of uh, fragmentation that exists as far as the device models and OEMs are concerned. Now, this gets multiplied exponentially. The complexity gets multiplied exponentially as soon as you combine this with different operating systems which exist in the market. So on the right side, the table shows the list of all the Android version exists in the market. So if you look at from the bottom, Android version 9, 8.1, 8.0 to up to 5.1 still have significant market size. If you combine all this, it covers almost 70%. So you're talking about at least 8 active versions of Android to be able to cover 70% of your market segment. And as I said, in the healthcare industry, if the number of users are increasing from every segment, you can't say that I'm not going to support a device which has a 5.1 version. So you need to ensure that you are testing it on those older versions as well, because this still has almost 12% of market share. Now 10.0 also has come. That data is still not available, but that adds to one more version. So you can just imagine the number of permutation combination that you'll have to think to cover different models as well as different versions. Now this problem is slightly manageable in case of Apple or the iOS ecosystem. Majority of the market segment is covered by two versions, the N and N-1 we call it, the latest and latest minus one. So you can cover majority of the market share by using two versions of iOS devices. But again, within that you have a lot of older models starting from iPhone 6 to 6s, 7, 7s. So those models, there are 10 active models in the market, and then have two versions of those devices, N and N-1. Again, you're talking about 20 devices there. So this device fragmentation adds a lot of complexity in terms of how many devices that you need for testing, and how do you ensure that you are covering a major market share considering your user base. Now, just to give you more perspective, I mean, you might be thinking, why do I need to test it on so many devices? So to give you a perspective here, we have collated this data on why applications fail. So for example, you find the issue on an application like a crash, or some kind of issue related to driver, or some kind of issue related to UI, some kind of issue related to functionality. Why those issues are happening, right? What are the root causes? So this data has come from our analysis, mainly from the Android ecosystem, as to what are the primary reasons why the applications throw bugs, or why do we find bugs within the applications. So there are two major categories here. One is device specific bugs, and second is non-device specific bugs. And within device specific, there are different root causes like problematic driver implementations, OS customizations, peculiar hardware composition. So these are typically the problems because of the OEM's customization. So every OEM has a different hardware compositions. They customize the native Android for their needs. They customize the UI skins. They even sometimes customize the core of it. They have different drivers. All these lead to changes in the native operating system itself, along with the hardware, and that leads to 40% of the app failures, which is huge, right? I mean, you can say that, okay, I don't worry about the different OEM models, but that constitutes 40% of the bugs which exists in application because of these variations. Non-device specific issues are typically the operating system fragmentations, as we saw that Android has 8 active versions. 8 active versions which still cover 70% of the market share. So these are typically the different operating systems having different APIs, or when the Android is released, Android itself comes with a lot of bugs. So that constitutes almost 60% of the bugs. So that gives you a perspective of where should I focus as far as my fragmentation strategy is concerned. I still need to focus on the OS fragmentation, which covers the largest set of bugs, but I can't ignore the device related fragmentation, which are because of the different OEMs. So I have to have a balance of different OEMs along with the operating systems. Now, one more last thing before we move on to the real crux of today's session, where we'll start with a demo. One of the myths that I've seen when talking to different teams, different organizations, that, okay, I have to test it across different versions, I agree, but I can manage it with simulators or emulators. Those are good enough. While this argument has some merit, but it has a lot of disadvantages. So for example, emulators are very easy to set up, available free, they're even faster. But the big challenge is you can only test with you can only test emulators for the vanilla version of uh, operating systems or OEMs. So OEMs also provide emulators, but again, they don't cover all the models. They will give you one or two simulators, which is typically the vanilla versions. Can't test the performance of app, no real network connections, interruption testing. So those things cannot be tested on an emulator. While on the real devices, it's as I mean, it's equally close to your production environment, right? In if you look at other kind of systems like web, you always like to test it on a production-like environment. In case of mobile app, you have that advantage because your user is going to use a device, physical device, and you have access of those physical devices. So you can actually test in a production-like environment. So why do you want to test it on something else? Is the question you can ask. So result that you are getting on a physical device, you can always be sure about it. Of course, it has the problem with the cost, how many devices that you can buy. There are some flackiness issues during automation runs and all, which has been there in the market, but it has improved over a period of time. So that's the reason a platform like PCloud or other cloud providers are solving these challenges. So you can access plethora of devices on a public cloud that we have. You don't have to worry about cost. And also we have taken care of aspects like flackiness to make sure that you are focused on your automation execution rather than worrying about why scripts are failing. So the bottom line is, if you use simulator emulators, you will miss those 40% OEM specific bugs. Can you afford that? So it's better to test it on a production-like environment on device rather than testing it twice, once on emulator and once on real device. Emulators are good for some dev-related testing, so developers like it. But when it comes to real testing, I think physical devices have no substitute right now. So with that, I think we'll move to the real action here. I'll take you through a quick workflow of PCloud. How can you use it to solve some of the challenges that I talked about in the slides so far, and then we'll come back, talk about what are the benefits, and then we'll open it for question and answer. So I'm switching to my uh, other screen to show you a demo. So I'm right now logging into PCloud's public cloud version, but it's the feature and the flow that you will see is true for other flavors as well, be it the private cloud or the on-prem cloud. So let me just log in with my credentials. So it looks like I did. Just a second, let me log in with my credentials here. Okay, so now I've logged into the public cloud here, and as I said in the when I was talking about emulator simulators, a platform like PCloud solves the challenges of accessing a device at a much at a cost which is affordable. You don't have to buy all these costly devices. So if I go to the devices tab here, you can see number of devices which are available on the platform across different OEMs versions, and also you can see some of the latest devices like S20, Google Pixel 2 with Android 10.0, and there are I mean more than 500 devices available on the platform for you to choose and test. Now you can also filter devices based on different versions or different filters, I would say, and you can see we support starting from the lower 4.1 to the latest 10.0. So you can select devices which are related to different versions, and same is true for iOS as well. So starting from the lower versions to the latest, we support all the versions for iOS as well. And for OEMs, again, we support one of the widest range of OEMs, be it the low-end devices like Lava, eyeballs, to the high-end Huawei's, Google's, or Samsung's. We have one of the widest support here, and then you can choose based on other filters as well. So the point is, you can find out a right device on this platform depending on your testing need. You can choose to test it on, let's say we have 500, you can choose to test it on 20, 30, 40, 50, depending on the customer segment that you're targeting. But the point is the device challenge that you have in terms of figuring out where to get the device from is solved, and you can use the device like any other physical device. So I'll start with, I'll connect to a device and show you how easily you can access it like a physical device. But before that, I'll just take you to the MyF Beta folder, which is like a repository for you in terms of having your data, test data, which can be your applications like APKs, IPAs, or it could be your image files, it could be other files that you need on the device for your testing purpose. So you can just upload it once by clicking on this upload file, then just select your application and then upload it. Once you upload it, it's going to be there in this drive all the time, which you can access it on the device when you connect to a specific mobile device. So this is just a one-time process. So you can see I have so many APKs already installed, and one of it is Samsung Health, which I'm going to use it for the demo today. I just uploaded it today itself, which I'll use it for the demo purpose. So MyF Beta is just a one-time process that you need to do. Now I'll go back to the devices tab again, and either I can connect the device directly by clicking on this connect icon, but for my demo purpose, I just booked a device in advance so that it's going to be there when I'm planning this demo. So I have booked this device, Samsung Galaxy S9, and then if I click on this connect button, it will take me to a screen, which we call it live interaction on the device. So typically this screen allows you to access the device like a physical device, though you are accessing it over internet remotely within a browser. So now the device is connected, and again I can start interacting with it like the physical device. So I'm performing different operations through the mouse. I can go to Play Store, I can download apps, pretty much everything. I can perform operations like swipe, zoom, pinch zoom, pretty much. I mean, whatever you need to do, whatever you do it on a physical device can be done through the mouse controls itself. So we are in a live interaction mode, and you can see on the left side, in the center, on the right side, there are quite a number of icons. These are basically the tools that you get, which helps you speed up your testing or perform you different kind of testing, which otherwise is very challenging to do on a physical device. And I'll show you some of it during the demo. I'll not be able to cover all that in the demo, but some of the key tools here, which can be very, very useful, I'll try to cover. So let me start with a quick flow where I'm going to install an application. So I'll click on this install icon, and as I said, I uploaded this Samsung Health application today, and so I'm going to install that right now. So I clicked on install. You can see the message, it's installing on the device. It's a single click install as a user. You don't have to transfer a file to device from anywhere else. You just have to upload it once and then start the installation. So while it takes, it might take 10, 20 seconds depending on the size of the application. While it is happening, I can just explain a quick, I can give you a quick tour of some of the other features that we have. So on the right side, you can see there are two tabs, logs and analysis, which I'm going to show you. So I can start the log of the device right away. So while I've opened the application or the device, I can parallelly see what is happening on the device through the device logs, which is very useful. Once you see error or a crash on application, your developers will say, send me the log file. So you can always switch on the log file to see it live, or anyway, this log file is getting recorded as part of the session. So you can download it as part of the report and send it to your developers. But you have the download option here itself. If you see a crash, you can download it here and then just upload it as part of your bug report. So now the application is installed, Samsung Health, and now I can perform. So I'm not logging in through any credentials here. I'm just going inside the application like an anonymous user. And you can see the log getting changed here. Now, while I am using this application, I can also use this analysis tab to parallelly track the performance, which is one of the key aspects, especially when you're testing a healthcare application, that your application performance is optimal. So as you can see now that I have started this analysis, I can see some real-time graphs getting plotted in this screen, and you can see there are different graphs like memory usage, CPU usage, network, battery capacity. These are important parameters to track as far as the app health is concerned. So in the memory graph, you can see right now on this screen, it's consuming around 153 MB of memory. Now you can have a benchmark what is acceptable to you depending on some market analysis. What are other health apps? How much memory they are consuming? So is my app better than that? So that kind of benchmark you can set. I mean, as a tool, we can't tell you what is the right benchmark, but we are just giving you data to analyze. Now, if I start performing some other operations, you can see this graph changing depending on the kind of operation you're doing it on the application. So you can see this graph changing. So when I was clicking on this icon newbie, you can see the memory uh, went to 212. So is it acceptable? So again, that is, as a tester, you can take that call and report those kind of things to your dev teams. Another interesting part is, let's say if I take this application to the background, what happens to the memory consumption or to the CPU consumption? You can see even if I have taken it to the background, still consuming 130 MB of memory. Is it good enough? Should it be lower than that? Because if I'm using an application and keep it in the background for a longer duration of time, it's still consuming my memory. Why should that be? So those are the kind of questions that you can ask and make sure that your application is utilizing it to the optimum. So these are the kind of testing that you can do as far as the app performance is concerned. So I'll just go back to the app again here. Um, Let me just go click on the recent app, and um, again, I'm back to the app. So as a functional tester, I can then execute my test cases and verify the screens, the functionalities, the UI. So all that kind of testing can be done. Now, as soon as, let's say, if I find certain kind of issues here, I can quickly take a screenshot. And then I can also edit the screenshot. Let's say I want to mark a certain area as a bug. Let's say I say that this part is not correct, it's a bug. I can also put the text here. So all that editing can be done. I'm not going into all the editing. And then you can save this as, let's say, bug_1. I'm just taking a random name here. So the screenshot is saved again here as a bug. And then the best part is you can directly log a bug to Jira without downloading these screenshots or the log files. So I can say, again, alignment issue. I can put descriptions, I can say attach log and screenshots, and then submit it. So the bug will get submitted directly from here to your Jira. You can also post it to your Slack channels or GitHub, depending on what systems are you using. So it becomes very, very easy. Just see the kind of collaboration. Otherwise, on a physical device, you'll have to transfer it on a local system, then log into Jira, then upload, and then again you'll have to download the log file separately. So all that is taken care on single clicks here. So these are some features like installation, screenshots that we saw, logs, analysis that you can do, that you can use to improve your app testing and then find out right kind of bugs. Apart from that, on the left side, there are quite a number of features which you can use. For example, language. Now, if your app is a global app where you need to test it across different languages, and if your app supports that language change, you can directly change the language from here and test it in different languages. So that localization testing is again available at a single click. If your app supports location feature, for example, it is based on certain GPS locations. You can change the GPS location of the device and then test those location-based features as well. Um, network simulation. This is very critical in today's scenarios because your users are going to be from different segments. So you need to ensure that you are giving the best experience to all kind of users. Now, how do you simulate those kind of real life situations on the device? Here is what network simulation is. So you can see we are giving different kind of profiles. So what happens when you use this profile 2G developing rural, or 3G average, or 4G data, broadband low speed? There are so many profiles that we have created, and you can also request for custom profile if that's a need. So the idea is that you can set those profiles on the device and then test your application. So we have seen a lot of crashes happening if you're testing it on low bandwidth, if you're switching from low to high bandwidth. So those kind of real life testing also can be done on the device through the features like network simulation. And one last thing on this screen is this feature, enable WildNet. Now what happens is a lot of times your APKs or your web applications, you'll be testing it when they are in the test or staging environment where these are not public. The servers are not accessible from outside. So you can use this feature, enable WildNet, which enables you to test your local applications on the device. So once you enable WildNet, the device will get connected to your local laptop network. So whatever applications that you can test on your local network can be tested on the device itself. So not only you can test your public applications, which are accessible to outside world, you can also test your internal applications on the devices. So pretty much it gives you ability to test at different stages of your application lifecycle. As you can see, you can test your functional, you can test your UI, you can test not all aspects of usability, but yeah, to a large extent, along with your app health performance, and then provide right kind of analytics to your teams in terms of screenshots or logs, so that they can find out the issues and fix it quickly. So that was a quick workflow. I mean, there are many other features which we have, but I'm not going into that detail. But you would have got a sense of what all things that you can do as far as your app is concerned, especially in the health care industry. Now that I have done my testing, I can go to the report section and just I'll show you what kind of data that you get there and how useful it can be. So I tested it on the Samsung Galaxy S9, and then I can go and see this report. So this is an HTML report that you get. So all the data that you saw there is available here also. So all the memory chart, your battery chart, CPU, the screenshot that you took is available here, logs, the videos, the full session video is also available here. That's another good aspect where it helps you in reproducing some of the bugs later on, as to you can see what the steps that I performed when this bug happened, and you can also use it as evidence of what exactly happened during the test. So this report can be again shared across different teams. Very useful. All the data that you require is available at one single place. Great. So with that, I mean, this is how you pretty much cover the manual testing, or what we call it live interaction testing on the device, and you can access multiple devices and do that kind of testing. Now, another area where you can do functional testing or live interaction testing is through the bot that we have provided. Now, bot is called Certifier here. So what we were doing earlier was, as a tester, I was performing certain steps on the device for testing. Now, in this case, Certifier as a bot will take care of those steps on its own. So what it expects from you is to provide just the APK. So for example, the same Samsung Health APK I have chosen. I'll have to just fill certain data as to for what location you are testing, so that it will select right kind of devices, what application category, because it has certain historical data based on which it will compare. So for example, health and fitness. And if let's say this app requires certain login credentials, you can provide that username, password, or let's say OTP or mobile number. So that kind of data it provides so that bot can use this data and just say it runs. So it might take half an hour, 20 minutes, depending on the size of the application, to run different kind of tests. Once that happens, you will get a report like this. So since we are talking about health care apps, this is a health report of the application itself. So you can see it is giving you a indication of what is the health of your application as far as CPU consumption is concerned, memory consumption is concerned, battery, network. So it gives you a sense of what is the quality of my app. And this is done based on comparison of certain historical data that we have for different kind of applications. And then you can see it has tested on so many devices, again with different variations, different versions, 4.4.2 to latest 7.0. This is an old report, so maximum it has taken 7.0, but otherwise it will take different variations of devices, different OEMs. So within 20-30 minutes, you are going to get a comprehensive report on so many devices with so much of data and insight without performing any single step. Now it's very useful when you are doing some kind of sanity test. For example, you get a new build before you perform your standard feature testing or regression testing. You can just run this bot test and see if there are some major crashes, and based on that you can accept or reject the build. So here there is a specific tab for crash test. If there are some crashes happening on those devices, it will list here. So here there's no crash, so it's saying passed, but otherwise you can see. And then you can also go to exploratory bot test, which is much more detailed execution of different scenarios. So you can see all the screenshots which has taken. So looking at the screenshot, you can see what all steps it has executed. Though we are also working on making the scenario much more meaningful for the users to see. But right now it's available in form of all the screenshots that it has taken during the execution. And then it has other sets of data like logs, all the health related data like memory, battery charts that we saw in other reports also. So here without uh, performing any single step, you're getting a health report on the application, which can be very useful for you to perform or see during your initial sanity tests. So as soon as a new build comes, you can always run this to get a quick information of how my application is performing. Of course, it has certain limitations in terms of how many pages it is traversing, but it's improving as we speak. Every time you run a different application, it learns from it and then improves the logic. So, but yeah, I mean, we have seen a huge success in customer scenarios where they have used they have been using to gather this kind of data, which is otherwise very difficult to do through manual testings and through on physical devices. So with that, I'm now moving to the last part of demo, which is the automation. Now, we saw here testing on one device through live interaction testing. We saw the bot executing it on multiple devices. But yeah, one of the primary goal that you might have is how do I enable automation for my application and to be able to run at on multiple devices together. Now, PCloud comes with extensive support for automation. As I said, our goal is to enable continuous testing, and that can only happen when you have automation in place. So PCloud has extensive support for different kind of automation tools. So Appium is one of the primary ones. So for Appium, I mean, PCloud allows you to move your local Appium driver to PCloud. So you will not require any local servers at your end. You just need to require your scripts, and you can run it on PCloud devices. So here is a sample Appium script. I'm not going into detail of how we have created the script. We are assuming that you have the Appium scripts in place and you want to run it on multiple devices. So within your project, you'll have to just you have to add a small piece of code. As you can see here in this screen, there are certain capabilities that you'll have to add. which is highlighted here. These are provided by PCloud, and that's the piece of code you'll have to add once, which means now, and the local, instead of local driver, you'll have to use the PCloud endpoint for your Appium driver. So now all the tests that you have will start running on the PCloud server, and depending on which device you choose, you'll be able to run on those many devices. So very simple integration. Since it's a TestNG project, you'll have to go and uh, change your XML file depending on what you have provided, which devices it will run. So now the run has started. There are two devices that are chosen, Motorola and Samsung, and then you can go and monitor that run in a live mode if you want. Otherwise, you can just sit back and relax and wait for your test to get completed. But in certain debugging scenarios, you'd like to monitor how the test is running on the devices. You can come back to PCloud interface again and then see those executions in a live mode. So you can see here we are opening both the devices, Samsung and Motorola, and the execution has started. So you can see the test being executed. So you can see whether the flow is going right, not right, and then based on that you can take different calls. Now on top of it, we have so many utilities for automation. Again, this generates extensive report like we saw in manual testing itself, and by default it captures all that health data that we talked about. So you don't have to write any specific script to gather that data. That data is available for you as part of your execution run, which is again very difficult to get when you are running it on your local physical devices. You'll have to write scripts or ADB commands, create those graphs, etc. So this is available by default. So this is just one part of it where we are talking about execution. PCloud comes with its own automation studio as well, which we call it OpKey. So if you don't have your automation scripts ready, you can use OpKey to generate your automation scripts, and it's a very simple UI interface to create the scripts by just doing recording on your application. I'm not going into that demo right now, but you can use OpKey to generate your automation scripts and then run it on PCloud devices or on your local devices. So you can choose depending on which tool is your preference. If you already have projects with open source tools like Appium, Espresso, you can use PCloud to run, or you can use tools like OpKey to create the scripts. And apart from that, we provide so many utilities for object spies, Appium desktop to enable you during your script creation to quickly debug if there are some failures, etc. I mean, there are so many other features that I'll not be able to cover right now, but yeah, you'll be able to use that during your during various stages of your testing or within your automation. As I said at the end, as I said in the beginning, we have mobile DevOps also in place, so you can integrate it with Jenkins and then run your scripts, Jenkins and other tools as well. So in a nutshell, this is how it works. We saw the live interaction testing, we saw the bot testing, we have seen a glimpse of automation, but that will give you a sense of what the platform is capable of, apart from the fact that there are so many other things which you can do. We would love to show you as part of a dedicated demo. Now coming back to the last part of it, I'll just take two more minutes. Now on the healthcare applications or for the healthcare enterprises, one of the concern is if I'm using a tool like PCloud, how secure it is. Is my data secure? Is my application secure? So one of the goals that we always had as a part of product is to make it as secure as possible so that our customers from different industries, banking, healthcare, should be able to use without any second thought. So our data centers are ISO 27000 certified, SOC 2 compliant, GXP compliant, which is dedicated for pharma and healthcare industry. So we have those compliances in place. We have regular third-party security vulnerability analysis done. So we have made sure that the security aspect of the platform is taken care. you need not worry about security of your data. Uh, on the device, when for example I installed that Samsung Health application, as soon as I release the device, that application is completely uninstalled. The device gets wiped out. So there are a lot of layers of security which has been built at platform level, at device level, at your login level. Uh, all the communication is happening over HTTPS, SSL, using SSL encryptions. So yeah, I mean, you can be absolutely sure about the security. Last quick look at how can you benefit. So with a tool like PCloud, you have the secure access of the device from any location. So you saw, I just use a browser. There's no other installation required to access any device or do my testing. In certain cases, like if you're using advanced feature like device tunnel, then you might require to install a plugin, but majority of the testing can be done over browser from anywhere, anytime, which is the need of the hour right now. Physical devices are completely useless in today's scenario. You are able to access devices remotely. I talked about it from anywhere. Accelerated automation runs. So I saw it. I showed it in 2 devices. That was just a glimpse. There is absolutely no restriction. Depending on the package that you have, you can run on 10, 20, 50 devices together. So you can just speed up your testing and take it to a completely different level altogether. Report sharing, talked about test analytics. You saw the kind of data it generates. Collaboration, again, it improves the efficiency and the speed of testing, and finally mobile DevOps ready. So you don't have to do much to make sure that this platform works with your CI/CD. So overall, you can achieve the quality of your application by testing it on so many devices, so many aspects of testing. At the same time, you're testing it with speed. So this is what we are trying to give it to you, quality at speed, which you can use it uh, for your healthcare applications, and make sure that the new users which are coming on the platform for your healthcare application are getting the best experience. So with that, thank you so much. Thanks for your time and listening to this presentation patiently. Feel free to just drop in your questions in the questions tab. I'll try to take up as much as I can. We have few minutes left. If there are more questions, if I'm not able to answer, we'll respond to you over email. So the first question is, what is ADB? So ADB is a toolkit provided by Android to communicate with the device. So if you are using a physical device, you can connect. Sorry, there was a call. So the ADB. So if you're using a physical device, you can connect the device to your laptop using the USB cable, and then start firing your ADB commands to install a device, to get the log files. So basically, it's a way to communicate to Android device. Similar toolkit is there for iOS. So as you saw in case of PCloud, you don't have to worry about all those things. PCloud behind the scene takes care of all those command executions, etc. So as a user, you are absolutely not required to know about ADB and similar toolkit. There is another question: what other tools it supports other than Appium? So as I said, Appium, Espresso. Espresso is again a tool provided by Android, within the Android ecosystem itself, by Google. Then XC Test, which is provided by Apple. So these are the 3 major tools from the open source domain. And on top of Appium, there are so many other tools like Robot Framework to TestNG framework. So any framework that you have on top of Appium is supported. But in terms of core tool, we are supporting Appium, Espresso, XC Test, Monkey, and then we have our own tool as well for automation, as I said, Opkey, which is a full-fledged automation studio for you to write your automation scripts and run it. Question: automation load tests. Oh, so tools for automation and load test. So PCloud is not a load testing tool. You can use it for your functional UI, usability, app health check or app level performance, but it's not a load testing tool. Typically, the users have used it in conjunction with certain load testing tool like JMeter or Load Runner or NeoLoad. So, for example, you can load your server through these tools like JMeter or Load Runner, and then come back and see the performance on the device for the app. So then you can monitor, okay, if my server was loaded, what was the performance of the application on the device? That kind of I mean combination testing can be done, but PCloud in itself is not a load testing tool. uh, you can log into so many devices to generate load on your servers, but there's no automated way of generating load from PCloud. It's primarily a functional automation tool, if I can say in that language. Can Jira, Jenkins be connected using plugins available? Absolutely. So we have default plugin available for all these tools like Jira, Slack, Jenkins. And as I said, we have open APIs which can be used from any tool that you have. So every functionality that you see on the product, like accessing a device, connecting to a device, booking a device, all that is available through APIs as well. So using the APIs, you can integrate it in any tool that you are using, and we can also help in that process. But it's all based, all the functionalities are based on REST APIs, which are exposed to outside world as well. Great. There are some more questions, but we are running out of time. Thank you so much for your time and being so candid about your questions. If I'm missing some questions, we'll respond it over email. Feel free to drop a mail to us if you need more detail about the product, a detailed demo, more information. We would love to connect and talk more about it. Thank you so much. Hope to see you again.